Good afternoon and welcome to the School District of Osceola County's scheduled Strategic Plan Update Workshop for Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. Today, our Strategic Plan Update will be led by Dr. Michael Allen, Chief of Staff and Strategy, but we'll start with a welcome from Dr. Clayton, our Deputy Superintendent of Teaching, Leading, and Learning, who's filling in for Dr. Shanoff today.
Thank you, Chair Cahoon. Welcome, everybody, to our mid-year, Year 2 Strategic Plan Update. We have many members of the audience today that are here in support of the work that they've been doing out in the schools across the district. We'd like to recognize the school board for the interest and the approach to the new strategic plan, and recognize the progress that's being made so far with each one of our KPIs. So I'm going to pass it right on over to Dr. Allen, and he'll do a reminder of the construction of the new strategic plan, because it is a new way of thinking and a new way of work. And it really, I have to emphasize that the new way of work is helping us with the breakthrough moments that we've been working towards seeking and achieving throughout the district for many years. And we're finally starting to see that return because of this new approach. So, Dr. Allen.
Thank you, Dr. Clayton.
Yes.
So, good afternoon, board, and want to just say thank you again for this opportunity to provide mid-year update for year 2 of the 3-year district strategic plan. Excitingly, I think as Dr. Clayton alluded to, there is data that's trending in a very positive manner, so we're excited to share. But certainly that's a reflection of the hard work of all 8,000 of our staff members. But it's also a reflection of the progress over perfection day one culture that's been fostered by Dr. Shanoff, as well as you, the governing board, which allows us to focus on the work in a very positive and supportive manner. So for that, we thank you. As has been done in the past, Dr. Clayton does have a supplemental page regarding student achievement. So you have 2 documents in front of you. You have the actual strategic plan update, and then you have the supplemental page that Dr. Clayton will focus on when we get to the value driver of achievements. So in just a few moments, I'm going to be asking each value driver lead and cross-functional sub-lead to come to the podium and share the data that we currently possess, as we do have some metrics that still remain pending. But like always, board, we invite questions and input and dialogue, and of course, your direction anytime during the presentation. So feel free, just jump in anytime. All right, so a little bit about the strategic plan. As you know, it is structured a little differently than most. It is cross-functional in nature, which means it is designed, implemented, and supported by departments and people from across the district. Whereas traditional strategic plans are typically segmented by department or by division, such as human resources, business and finance. Our approach to the work is more interwoven, so it aligns people, processes, and resources from across the district to accomplish our set goals. So this cross-functional approach reduces work being done in isolation, and then ultimately enhances collaboration, innovation, and overall ownership. So board, I'd like to invite you to turn to page 2 of the main document at this time for a little more about the strategic plan. Our plan is based on 5 pillars that we call organizational value drivers. They include engagement, alignment, community, achievement, and culture. As mentioned, each value driver does have a lead and a cross-functional sub-lead who oversee the prescribed work in collaboration with any number of departments and/or people across the district. Next are purpose statements, which define the value drivers. And our activities are the highest leverage actions that staff completes to propel organizational success. Now, it's important to note that these are certainly not all the actions and not all the initiatives that are taking place in our district. Instead, these are represented here, we believe, are the most impactful. And then if you turn to page 3, This is where we're going to be spending our focus on today. The key performance indicators, more commonly known as KPIs. These are our quantitative measures of success. Again, these are certainly not all of the data points that we use and that we track in the district, but these are the highest level, the highest leverage, and the most readily available data points that we have. All right, any questions before we proceed? All right, I'll invite my sub-lead. I happen to go first. I'm the goal lead for engagement. I'll ask Dr. Barrio, Assistant Superintendent for Student Services, to come to the podium with me. All right, so the next page of the documents. The very first KPI for engagement is centered on providing premier customer service, and that is ensuring all stakeholder communication is returned at least within 24 hours. So the measure that we've been using for this over the past 2 years has been our Let's Talk platform. I have personally been working very closely with Dana Schaefer and the community relations team on this effort. We've been presenting at principal meetings, we've been securing and sharing the data, and then supporting individual departments and schools as need be. Relative to the response time, we're seeing a very positive trend. Since July 1st this past year, we have had 4,734 Let's Talk dialogues. And on average, so far this year, the correspondence is being returned and completed in 1.3 days. So while we're still not meeting our ultimate goal of a 24-hour turnaround, this is well below the year 2 goal that we established and vastly reduced from last year at 3.4 years and the year prior at 6.2.
I do have one question there. You're saying that the dialogue age is 1.3 days to respond and close out, but are you able to see if a response is happening in that first response is happening in the 24-hour window and then closeout is coming after that?
So I will defer to Dana Schaefer for a little assistance. Where is she? However, what we have been asking our customers, our staff to do, is to go ahead and when you respond, you say, hey, I'm in progress. But you're right, it's not captured until we actually close out. So that is a little nuance of the system that may alter that number a little bit.
Yeah, so they could be responding within that 24-hour. We may already be hitting that goal. It's just the closeout isn't taking place till possibly after it. Dana.
Yeah, it is correct.
If you open it, what we hope is the schools who are reading it and doing it leave an internal comment. That way we can see that it is being taken care of, and then when it's finished, they close it.
Mm-hmm.
Do they always leave an internal comment? No. So that's where we're continuing the training to say, okay, it has been seen, and then we close it out.
But no, you are absolutely correct that it could remain open simply because we're continuing to do research or garnering more information prior to us closing it out. So that number could be altered somewhat. Okay. Next is the customer service score that we measure for this KPI. It is a little bit lower than it was at the end of last year. In digging into...
I think he's going to answer it. I'm going to wait until you finish this part, and I may have a question.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. So the customer service score is slightly lower than it was at this time last year. However, in digging deep into the data, it does only represent 6% of that 4,734 dialogues, as those are only 283 responses end up leaving a customer service survey. Nonetheless, it is the data, and we are working with individual schools and departments still on providing premier customer service. And then we are also going to be rolling out district-wide ways to provide resources for providing excellent customer service to all departments and schools.
What was the baseline before mid-year for the customer service score?
Last year, I think it was 8.3.
Okay. And you say it's 6% of the respondents are, can you clarify that 6% comment you made earlier, please?
Yeah. So Of the 4,734 dialogues that we've received since July 1st, only 283 have provided a survey response to us, so that is 6%.
Got it. Okay, I understand.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we'll move on to next KPI, which Dr. Barrio will take over.
Good afternoon. All right. We're looking at average daily attendance and chronic absenteeism under the KPI for decreasing the percentage of days of student absences. At this time, we are very happy to announce that we are meeting both the average daily attendance goal for the strategic plan and also the chronic absenteeism rate. So we are currently at 93% ADA and 26% chronic absenteeism. We are approximately 2 points higher than we were last year at this time because we did a semester to semester comparison for the average daily attendance, and we are approximately 7 to 8 points higher in chronic absenteeism. So the interventions that we have in place, the best practices that we share, the data that we share with principals are helping us achieve those goals.
What is that in relation to the state average for both? Do you have that?
I do. With the average daily attendance, we are about 1% lower than the state average. Chronic absenteeism, I don't have that data with me, but I can get it.
Okay, thank you.
Question, which grade levels and schools have the highest still?
So the higher average daily attendance is elementary. I would say by about a point or two. And then we have K-8s, the second highest, and then middle school and then high school.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, and similarly, we have a KPI for engagement to decrease the percentage of teacher absences. And as you can see, we ended the year last year at 4.3%. We set a goal for this year for 3.9, and we are currently at 3.9% of daily average absence for our teachers. Dr. Green and the Human Resources team have partnered with Community Relations to celebrate perfect attendance at the end of each quarter. So at the end of quarter 1, 779 teachers received a thank you and celebratory email from Dr. Shanoff. And in quarter 2, we have 562 teachers that were able to accomplish perfect attendance. They'll receive the same correspondence. And then we're also working currently with Community Relations on a campaign to encourage teacher attendance, trying to show the connection between student achievement, obviously, and consistent attendance. Of course, we don't want anybody to come to work if they are truly sick, but there's also a benefit that we plan to illustrate relative to long-term benefits of having a healthy sick leave bank, both monetary and in the event of illness.
Can I ask too, in bargaining last year, was there a component of the contract that we did based off of perfect attendance? I feel like it was a discussion we had, but I don't remember if it ever got to the finish line.
That component of the bargaining did not get to the finish line.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Our next KPI is increasing the percentage of teachers and staff members participating in professional learning activities. For our mid-year update, we are currently at 83%. When we compare that to last year at this time, last year was at 78%. So we are seeing a significant increase on that. We continue to work on this KPI through collaboration with Ms. Franceschi and professional learning team. There has been much intentionality relative to securing and sharing participation reports by schools, departments, and employee groups, adjusting offerings as needed, and ensuring professional learning courses are properly entered, managed, and facilitated through the MyPGS system. So that's the information we have for professional learning.
Do you have any data on what is the barrier that's still in the way of folks? I mean, yes, first of all, congratulations on increasing 10 points. We do want to celebrate that. But it seems like we might still be lagging even towards the end of this year. I'm not sure that we'll get to the 91%. So have we identified what are the continued barriers?
Yeah, when we look at the intentionality that we're working on, and I'll let Dr. Allen add to this, but one of the things that we're seeing primarily is the professional learning courses, making sure that they're properly entered and that people are getting the credit that they earn when they do the professional learning.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's our first value driver. So at this time, I'm going to invite Sarah Graber and Dave Sharma, as well as sub-lead Dr. Lisa Korzinski, to provide you information on alignment.
It's going to be Pete, not Lisa. Could be. I'll kick it off. Good afternoon, members of the board. It's kind of weird standing up here. Before we get into our value drivers, actual KPIs on what alignment means. I think Sarah and I both volunteered for alignment because we saw the bigger vision of this. All of our operational departments, all of the things you just heard about, and Gabe, I did look up your numbers. I think the state's last average that they put out on chronic absenteeism was 30.9%, so we're way below that at this point, but that was like 2 years old data. They haven't put out last year's. All of what you're going to hear, all of these KPIs align to what our mission is, and it's in the very first page of this document, what our mission is. And so we want to be the best deal in town, county, but it's to inspire all of our learners to meet their highest potential. So everything you hear about maintenance, everything you hear about facilities, everything you're going to hear about iPads and IT and work order time and working on absenteeism and having staff show up, all culminates in making sure that that happens. So as we talk about money and work order times and how we use buildings efficiently, it all ties back to that one thing, just how we get students to school, how we provide the best education possible. And so Sarah will kick off the first KPI under alignment, and then we'll move around as we get them.
Good afternoon. So our first KPI under alignment was to increase the number of performance-based contracts. We did have a handful in the technology area going into this year, but what we're really working on right now is revamping our healthcare contracts. So we're in the process of renegotiating those and putting more robust performance guarantees into both our advisory healthcare contracts as well as the management of the health center and the operation of our third-party administrators and pharmacy benefit managers. So all of those are currently in the works, and we are hoping to bring those contracts to you in March. At the same time, we are working on our ERP contract. So as you know, we have selected the vendor that we're going to be moving forward with, and those contract negotiations are currently in the works. We also intend to have performance guarantees baked into that contract, as well as our computer student device contract, which we are working on as well. So all of those are currently fall under this KPI that we are hoping to bring forward new contracts to the board with performance guarantees and that are performance-based as we move forward.
And as we are doing other contracts, renewing things and whatnot, you're looking to see where you can add in.
Absolutely.
But
Yep.
those are the ones that you're focusing on, making sure they're created with those in mind.
Yes, right now in this time period, kind of in this second half of the year, those are the ones that we're really focused on. The hope is as we move forward that we will be able to start including more performance-based in some of our academic-based contracts as well.
Has there been any pushback with our business partners or vendors on these new performance-based conversations?
Not necessarily pushback. We're currently in conversations, so some of them we're just trying to sort of figure out what's going to make the most sense all around. But they understand that this is an initiative of this board and this district, and why we're wanting to move in this direction. They understand that this is a goal of ours.
Thank you. Just an additional question regarding the year 2 goals. So we have 3 for this year. So by the end of this year, and you already named the 3 that we have. So go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So sorry, that was going into this year.
Okay.
And Pete, do you remember exactly which ones we currently have?
Yes.
Okay.
So we currently have, and when we say performance-based, in terms of technology, it's service level agreements that we have with these companies. So Focus is one of those. That's our student information system. We have one for Power School, which is our professional learning system. And then we have a lesser one with Incident IQ. So, and Performance Matters. There's a 4th one. So, but Performance Matters is the other.
So in year 2, if we have anything in addition to the 3 for year 1, that would be meeting the goal?
Yes. I
Okay.
don't think we listed a number. So we are looking at ERP, student devices, and there's actually 4 in the healthcare arena.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Thorne for the next KPI.
Good afternoon. So I have the second one. KPIs decrease the number of days of downtime for student computer repairs. So what we mean by that is the amount of time it takes when a student's device is damaged to the time that they get another replacement, either a laptop or an iPad. So our initial year 1 result was 2.3 days. We've driven that down currently to 0.7 days in the last count, in our last measurement. So we obviously want to keep it at least 10% lower than to 2.3, but we're well ahead right now of that number. Some of the strategies we have to continue to drive this down is deploying leased devices at additional schools. So we've started a leasing program with our device vendor. We deployed 7 schools last year in early March. And this year, so far, we've deployed 6 more. We've deployed leased devices at Michigan Avenue, St. Cloud Middle School, Westside K-8, Kissimmee Middle, Paths, and Central Avenue's coming. So that's the next one. So anyway, we're doing 6 currently, and they're wrapping up this week is the final 2.
Of the 6 or additional
Of the
to
6.
that? Okay.
Right.
And then the plan
we'll-
is to continue to add more every
So we're
year.
going to continue to push that. And the idea there is the vendor will take over the care and feeding of those devices. Also, one of the things they offer is hot swap computers for the laptops for 2nd through 12th grade, which means we'll have a supply of devices waiting to be replaced if there's damage. Right now, the damage is very minimal at those leased schools, and we're still studying why that is. And I'll hope to have a better answer for you regarding that in the future. But right now, the device damage at those schools is extremely low, between 1% and 2%.
Is there a different contract that the parents sign? Because I know we signed a contract as a parent
No.
stating, so it's the same one that.
Correct. That is correct. So there's no difference there. We do get warranty, obviously, with these devices. And if there's willful damage, for example, there still will be discipline involved with that at the discretion of the school.
The vendor, are they providing support virtually or?
So,
Yeah.
what happens is, what our cadence currently is twice a week, the vendor will do what we call milk runs. So they go around to each school
Okay.
and collect the damaged devices. And then they're aware of it ahead of time and provide replacements when they come to the school to pick up the damaged devices. So that makes it it's just a natural cycle, a natural progression of how those devices are replaced.
And what percentage of devices are hot swap? So let's say we have
We have a
4,300.
We have a
What-
3% surplus at each school,
Got it. Thank you.
just in case. But we have not approached that yet at these schools.
The devices are in the schools, so they don't have to. Okay, perfect.
That is correct. That is correct. But as they do become damaged, the vendor comes and picks them up once or twice a week, and then they bring replacements at the same time. Because their ticketing system, which they use Incident IQ just like we do, their ticketing system is integrated with ours. So anytime we put in a damage ticket for a device, they know about it automatically. So we have that integration built in.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
Are the students keeping the leased devices over the summer?
They can if they want.
Oh, it's
So-
optional, or they turn them in?
Right, so we're going to modify slightly. I don't have that plan quite ready yet to present, but while we're still a one-to-one district, we're going to be modifying what they can and cannot do with those devices. So, for example, our pre-K through first grade kiddos, they will not have to take home an iPad. They can if they want. We're going to allow it, but we're not going to we're not forcing them to do that, to take it with them. Same thing with our devices in the primary grades, our laptops. So second through fifth, it'll be optional if they want to take it. They won't have to, but they can. We want to make sure, so one of my directives this year is to make sure that we are better prepared this year, this coming year than the current year, in making sure that devices are available for children so that they start day one. So that's my directive, to make sure that happens. So we're going to be looking at things like class sets, perhaps, at the elementary level, making sure devices are deployed in classrooms. So we're really concentrating on elementary this coming year to make sure that happens. We want as close to 100% readiness as we can get.
If they take them during the summertime, are they able to do the swap or have something fixed if something does break during summertime?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, they sure can. And I'm assuming that most of the summer school students will take their devices with them. Of course, we naturally have an issue with transition years. So fifth going into sixth, for example, and eighth going into ninth. So we have to have special considerations for that. We're looking at possibly having a campaign to make sure that students pick up their devices well ahead of time, before the start of the school year next year, several weeks before, to make sure that's all settled and they're ready to go.
I have one more.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a penalty if they come back with the leased device and they have to turn it in, and they say they're switching schools or leaving the county, and they don't have the charger or the case, or how does that work out?
Yeah, so obviously we're going to encourage them to turn those in.
It's a problem getting all those chargers back.
Chargers are, that's a perennial type of issue.
Yeah.
So we've built in plans for that, for the chargers, to make sure we have others. So I have a building in Admin 2000. There's a room full of chargers right now for the leased devices, for our older devices. And that was one other thing I wanted to mention. These leased schools, as they get their devices, their older devices are being handed in. So we're going through methodically, checking them to make sure that they're still usable. And then those go back into the general population, into the fleet, we call it. The other thing that the device vendor is going to be doing, they're going to be taking over a lot of the repairs for the entire fleet over time. So they're going to be handling all repairs for the most part, except for teachers. Teacher devices are not part of this equation. We still handle all that. All great questions. Anything else?
That feels like you don't want me to ask
No.
you more questions.
You ask away.
That's the way I'm like, this meeting is over. Thanks for your questions.
I didn't mean for it to come off like that. So, no, please do.
I actually do have another question. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. It's okay.
No. So you
Questions?
mentioned something at the tail end of your sentence there regarding teacher versus student devices. Am I safe to assume that our IT team is taking care of the teacher devices, and the vendors are deployed simply for students.
Absolutely.
Got
And
it.
they're still handling student devices because the vendor's not taken over all the student devices yet. That's going to be a slow burn. We can't possibly switch every device over to a leased device right now. You know, it's going to take time for that to occur. So,
Thank you.
yeah, so we're hoping to do 5 to 6 schools every time we do a lease rollout.
And are these rollouts happening once a year, or are we doing them at a
2 to 3 times. We're
Okay.
hoping. Yeah.
maybe once a quarter?
I wouldn't say that much.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe every semester we'll get one done and maybe one over the summer.
Okay.
So, yeah. And we'll get to 100% at some point. And right now we're concentrating on the schools. So I'm trying to apply what's equitable. So we're looking at the schools that have the highest damage. So, and those are the ones that we want to address first. So it could be middle schools, could be some of the elementary schools. We've had schools that have gone from 20 and 30% yearly damage down to 2 and 3% damage. And that's pretty amazing.
Is
So-
that just because folks are more, parents and students
Yeah.
are used to the devices? So
Could be the newness, perhaps, which we'll have to see. The vendor we work with, they have a dashboard that we look at every day, and we can look at the trend line for damage. And they have a trend line for where we should be, well, the maximum that we can be, and then where we are. And right now, that trend line is way below the max. So that's very gratifying. So we have some very, very good students, very good kiddos who are taking care of their devices, for sure.
Thank you.
Yep. No other questions?
I do we get a penalty after so much damage? Is there like a set number of, and then
There would be. We'd have to start paying out of pocket. That's part of the contract.
and what's that number?
We are allowed right now, we took the higher percentage of damage, which is at 8%. So we're well
Smart.
below that. But we weren't sure what the model was going to be and how it was going to affect us. So in the future, when we do these future contracts, we'll probably lower that, assuming something catastrophic doesn't happen. So we'll have to see. So every new lease that we do, whether it's 5 schools, 6 or 7, it's another amendment or an addendum to the contract is what we're doing.
Thank you.
That's it? No? No more? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to steal some of Pete's talking points over here. The next KPI that we're going to look at, members of the board, we are looking to decrease the number of days to complete work orders, not just in maintenance, but safety and security as well. So we targeted our year 1 results when we started tracking 16 days. So we lowered that to 14 days. Currently, in the first quarter, we were at 9.8 days. And as of the 20th, like last Tuesday, we pulled numbers as we had them, and we were down to 6 days. This is not for work orders across the board. It is for general maintenance and for life safety work orders through safety and security. The reason we did that is because some work orders could end up being a really large project that requires design and construction. So we do create work orders to generate those projects, but our general maintenance, where we are maintaining and doing preventive maintenance, those are the ones that we're tracking, and so we're doing significantly better. Now, to tie into Pete's talking point, there's a lot going into this. It's not just we want to lower the amount of days and we're just going to send people out to do the work. Over the last 4 years, I've been in the district for 4 years, and I've been working with maintenance and operations closely. You guys have seen those in the facilities presentations, where we are looking at the schools that have created the largest amount of work orders, and typically they are HVAC, roofing, fire alarms. It's just generally where they land. And we've spent $30 million over the last 3 years, every year per year. replacing HVAC, fixing roofs, doing fire alarm. And so you're starting to see the impact of that investment now. And we're continually working on the amount of analysis that goes in with the operations team on looking at work orders. They don't necessarily look at it across the board, just saying major work orders and these are general maintenance. They would look at it whether it's just specifically roofs or whether it's plumbing or whether it's a landscaping issue. And they are analyzing all of that data to determine what goes into the next batch of capital projects. And we've seen a shift. For years have thought that it would be roofs, it would be HVAC. We're now seeing a shift where it's going to be predominantly roofs, and that's where we're targeting those. And we still have projects that on that are aging out and starting to create work orders. Those are going to be on a cycle as well, but we're going to do a lot more of the roofs because we are starting to see that those are the ones that are popping up to the top. It's kind of easy. If you take all of our work orders and you analyze them by school, and then you look at which schools are creating the most work orders, and then what particular systems are causing those work orders to be generated. You fix those issues, and then our team, our manpower on the ground can really spend time on doing preventive maintenance to show up in school and actually help schools to function better and achieve our goals. So you're seeing it across the board. The entire process is tied together with what projects get into design and construction and then gets churned out, and you're seeing those schools drop off the work orders list, not generating as much. So that's why we're working in so many. I think we have about, just within facilities, I think our last count was roughly about 103 active projects, whether in construction closeout or even just getting into the new work. And we are in the process of updating our 5-year capital program project list that usually comes before the board during the budget cycle for approval. And so you'll see those projects start shifting around. That being said, because the ERP is being implemented, Scott and I have spent a lot of time looking at what software we can have. We're using terms right now. I think we've discussed that one to death, but we're looking to how we can leverage the new technology, the new software that we're going to have to help us with the work order system. So we've explored quite a few. I mean, we have the ability with a new work order system to load the amount of time we spend on a particular job, the amount of materials we use, so we can track down to the time and actual cost of materials that we spend repairing a particular piece of equipment. So in future years, instead of looking at quantities, we can look at the actual quality in terms of how much money we spent or how much time we're spending on a particular piece of equipment to identify those and really make sure that the work orders that are being pushed into general capital every year has the largest impact. Again, if our systems are functioning, our principals don't have to worry about it, our teachers don't have to worry about it, student learning continues. The next KPI I'll have Sarah come up. Oh, well, I think I can cover this one. It's kind of straightforward. Sorry, question?
Yes. The decrease in work orders, is that maybe just waiting on parts? You know, like where we're going from 9 days to 6 days, and then is that maybe that the work orders aren't being completed because we're just waiting on parts to come in?
No, but what we're saying is, so we're targeting 14 days to close a work order out. We're currently closing them out to 6 days. So we're significantly faster than we intended to be. What I'm saying is, a lot of the large projects that I present from the facilities department quite often when we do the board workshops, those were the projects that were creating a ton of the work orders in previous years. So as we upgrade those systems, and suddenly you don't see those work orders happening anymore, so we can get back into just changing filters and continuing to monitor those systems versus having to go there and send a technician or a contractor out that have to order a part and takes weeks to get there in order to fix it. The next KPI is to negotiate and finalize the collective bargaining agreements according to the timeline. That's an expectation from you, the board. It's something that we focus on quite well, work well. You know, our negotiators between John Boyd and Scott, working with Dr. Green to get this done. It's something we discuss quite often at cabinet. Sarah is constantly looking at the state's budget because that typically feeds into how we can negotiate at collective bargaining. But we would like to get these wrapped up as early as possible and get the most out to our staff.
Thanks, Dave. So just to follow up on that, as you know, the legislative session just started. So once we start seeing what a budget might look like coming out of the state, that will really kick off our internal negotiations to talk about what next year's budget's going to potentially look like. Our goal that's been put into the strategic plan is obviously to meet the October 1 deadline for the teacher salary allocation, which has to be negotiated by then. We've always hit that deadline in this district. I think we were one of the first last year. But in addition to that requirement, I know that our goal is to make sure that our teachers and our staff are aware of what their salary will be for the year as early in the year as possible and get those dollars into their hands as quickly as possible as well. So as soon as we have a better idea of what the funding situation is going to look like, we will start those conversations. The next KPI is to maintain our target financial condition ratio, or our general fund balance percentage. And so you may remember that we ended last year just over 8%. We set this target between 8 and 10. Really the goal was to try and maintain at least an 8%. The budget for this year that you all adopted back in September had us just slightly below that. So I would think it was 7.88% is actually the budget that was adopted going into this year, with the goal that we were going to try and work through some things as we progress throughout the year to hopefully reduce some additional expenditures and try and hit that 8. What we're seeing after the first half of the year is that it's not looking like we're going to be there as of today. We are experiencing declining enrollment. So that definitely has an impact on the budget, and it's not just as simple as reducing teacher positions to stay within class size. All of the overhead that comes along with every additional student's funding also has to be cut at the same time in order to continue to live within our means. So that's something that doesn't happen overnight. So we are working through some different scenarios, but I did want to go ahead and kind of be very transparent today as of this mid-year update that as of right now, due to our declining enrollment situation, as well as some of our healthcare expenditures, which we're monitoring very closely, it is looking more and more like we may not hit this particular KPI as of this June 30th. Obviously, more conversation to come, and I know we'll be meeting with the board privately to discuss some of that strategy as well. So,
how far off from the 7.88% that we adopted do you feel like we could end at this year?
I'm hoping to stay above 6, but it's really we have numbers. We can figure out what we've done as far as the declining enrollment, the state funding, and staffing. What's still a major unknown right now is where healthcare costs come in, how much we have to continue to supplement just in this next 6-month period.
And would there be any change with what the legislature is looking at right now with the Family Empowerment Scholarship and how they're talking about there was so much discrepancy in what they thought was going to happen to what actually happened?
I will add that is obviously a huge unknown. We don't even have a third calc right now. So, I mean, we know where our student numbers have come in, but we have no idea how that's really going to translate into dollars until the state releases that third FEFP calculation, which I know there are currently conversations going on about what that may or may not look like given the matched students, the students that are reported for scholarships and reported in our schools. So that is absolutely still a major issue.
How many students are we below what our forecast was?
Just over 1,000 for the current year, in addition to just under 1,000 last year. So those are some numbers that we pulled over the last 5-year period. We're actually down about 2,700 funded full-time equivalent students. So we we are pretty solidly in a declining situation at this point. Not as bad as most, or there's a lot of other districts in the state. And our county obviously is still projected to have long-term growth, but we are now consistently seeing a couple of years in a row where we are declining.
The numbers you just shared, so 1,000 this year, and then you said total of 2,700 FTE. You said, is that 3 years of a trend or less?
Yes, it's
3
actually
years.
it's actually 5 years.
5 year
The
trend.
the last 3 years are where we're really starting to see the decline.
Thank you.
And then where exactly are those students going? Do we track that?
So it's a combination of some choosing scholarship, choosing private school and homeschool, as well as just overall decline. Birth rates are declining nationwide. And you have with immigration policy, that's part of it as well. Students just leaving the K-12 system in general. So we're seeing all of it. It's sort of a perfect storm.
One thing that I've asked, I'm sorry if I'm taking over. I can't see who has questions. One thing that I've asked before, and I don't know if I've either forgotten or have not received it, because maybe I don't know, I didn't follow up, is kind of to follow up on Board Member Bronson's question is, are we tracking the students coming back to our county year over year? So the example that I'm interested in learning more about is, let's say we learn that we lose, I don't know, 1,000 students in 24. I wonder if we track them coming back to our schools. Is that a number that we have?
I do not have that number, so we can look at it on an individual student basis. It's really hard to see. There are kids constantly coming
Yeah,
and going,
sure.
and I've actually asked for that data as well, and it's really hard to pull together because it's not as simple as saying a student was here last year, they left this year, and then they came back. There is so much mobility going on throughout the year that it's just constant in and out. But as far as looking at individual students, we can
Yeah.
pull that.
Yeah, I think I'm interested in it because it would inform our strategy for how we talk about our schools, right? Like a big choice district, but mostly because we have so many choices within our district. I'm interested to know what they're not receiving that they're coming back for so we can elevate that conversation.
We are also looking at contracting with a vendor that I know Orange County is using so far to go out and speak with some of these students who were previously within our system and have left, and talk to them and their families individually about, what is it about our district, or let's, advocate for some of our specific schools if they've submitted choice applications, but we haven't been able to grant them. We're doing a deep dive on reviewing that as well. To make sure that we are opening that, or, arms wide open to try and bring them back within our system if there's any interest at all. So there are some initiatives that we will be trying to roll out as we move forward.
I don't know how we're tracking this, but with the new marketplace that's out there for families who take the Family Empowerment Scholarship, but can also then come to us and take courses with us through them. I don't remember what the exact marketplace name is, but are we tracking that somehow to see what's happening there?
We do have that. Yeah, it's through the Step Up for Students marketplace. We do have systems in place now with fee schedules set if they want to take a specific class. Not a ton of that's started yet. I think it was like less than $10,000 that had come in last time I checked. But we do have the systems set up for that to happen now. Anything else?
Are the homeschool families, are they made aware that that's an option?
Yes, we can probably do some more communication, but yes, they are aware of that.
I think it's new for everybody, probably.
It is.
So
It is
trying to
new for
figure out
everybody.
how we're going to try to.
Get them back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Step Up's pushing out that communication as well, and there's statewide messaging, but all districts are sort of at different stages of rolling that out. All right, thanks. I'm gonna turn it back over to Dave for our last KPI.
This conversation was really good. Been having this conversation quite a bit recently. it all ties together because the next KPI that I'm going to talk about is it's actually new because this is a living document. We dropped off a KPI that we started the strategic plan with for facilities that had to do with change orders and RFIs, and I think we've kind of driven that one to the ground and seen it just became a normal way of us doing business and continuous improvement, updating our design guidelines. So we found another one that we thought would have the largest impact to outcome, and it's about utilization of their schools. It is generally a business that we operate. So we're trying to find that percentage enrollment that every school should be at in order to operate efficiently. And the target that we chose to use was 75%. It's a little bit higher than where we need to be, but we felt like that was a good number to target because it would be a relatively full school. We have labs, we have spaces that are flex, and we're currently today across the district just about 75% or over. So we've done a few things strategically. We're looking at the areas that we're seeing growth. So on the east side of the county, we have waiting lists at certain schools and we have portables in places. And then in the center of the county, you're seeing us pull back all of our portables and we're looking at, we have some flexible space. One of the things that we've started to do, Scott and I have spent a few days at the start of this, or very early in January, where we went out to some of our lower enrolled schools and we're walking those spaces with the principals again, looking at what programs we can add, what we can help with from a physical standpoint. They might need to convert a room into a dance room or a STEM lab that needs to be upgraded to be a bit more professional so that we can, that is our choice. That's what we are going to offer. So we're working closely with our teaching and learning folks to make sure that the right programs go into the right school and that we support those. So it's quite a bit that's going into this. At the same time, we recognize that principals don't necessarily operate their schools the way we build them. So we would build a school for 1,000 students and say we would have to give DOE every classroom number and say you're going to hold 18 we're going to hold 18 students in every classroom. A principal might end up having to use one of those for that would be a traditional classroom as an ESC specialty classroom or a planning room. And they have the space, they can do that. What we've recognized is that what's published by the Department of Education shows that we are low in enrollment, that we have all this vacant space. So we sat down, we asked the DOE to come in, and they did in December. They went through 8 schools with our planning team, and by just correcting those numbers, if a room is being used for planning, it's a planning room. If it's being used for ESC, then it needs to carry the ESC number. If it's being used for storage, then it needs to show 0, because that is the reality where we live. And so we wanted to make sure that the functional use of the school matches what the DOE is seeing, not necessarily what our architect designed 20 years ago. And in just the adjustments that we made over those 8 schools, we were able to reduce 2,200 seats, just over 8 schools. And that's just how our principals are using it. Now, we have the ability that if there is growth coming back into the area or growth coming to that school, where we would go have that conversation, sorry, you're going to have to give up that planning room and it's going to turn it back into a classroom, we can make those adjustments. This is an ongoing exercise. Our plan is to go through the entire district with DOE staff to look at every space and make sure that they are reflecting how they're actually being used. And I think that paired with our choice options, trying to bring students back, I strongly believe, I might be biased by saying this, but I think SDOC is the best deal in town, given all the choices that everybody has. And so, I mean, we're happy to listen to what the community wants. We're constantly researching what the newest trends are. We've updated our furniture guidelines. We've changed the types of flooring we put in spaces, the types of lighting based on all of the research that we can do. And we're going to continue to renovate some of our older schools. But with running at between 75 and 90% of our capacity, it shows as well that we might end up having to pull back on a few new schools that we would potentially build. So we're changing our approach. One of the things that is on the agenda this afternoon would be a design agreement for a building that we want to add at Voyager. after doing all of the research and looking at all of the options, we already have 5 portables sitting at Voyager, a school that we opened a year and a half ago. And we know that we have more than 100 students waiting in our choice list wanting to go there. So instead of building a whole new school, given the fact that we have this kind of space, we're choosing to add a building on that can go into that space that would function with the same staff. We would add the teachers and we would just make it one continuous school. It will be larger than normal, but we think that it is probably the best decision to make at this point. So we're going to look, you're going to see unique decisions like those being made as we continue to look at growth. Now, there is growth coming. We know that for the next 30 years, Osceola County is going to be the place to be built, but we're still figuring out how this FES impact is going to play out for us, as well as for our charter partners and homeschooling.
Thank you. I don't know if someone already asked this question and I wasn't quite paying attention, but maybe you did, Board Member Bronson. Do we know which are the schools that are in declined enrollment? Is there a pocket of our county where we see students leaving more than others? I ask because I wonder if that would be part of the strategy conversation again for choice. As you've been mentioning, we're going to repurpose the rooms or maybe repurpose programs. So do we have an idea of where those students are that are leaving? East,
I don't
west,
know
center?
I don't know about the declining enrollment. From a facility standpoint, we constantly track capacity. So I've been looking at capacity. If you're starting to
And I guess
show,
that's kind of the same question.
but that's what we've looked at. Yes, we do. So generally in the Poinciana area and in the center of Kissimmee is where we're seeing our capacity at. So those are the schools that we have visited. We've spent time at COA. We've spent time at PAFA, Deerwood. We're going around. I've done the same with Cypress. So the thought process is we're the best. We are a choice district, and so we want to be the best choice. So we're working with those principals to make sure that our offerings are the best and that it is what our community wants. And so there is a very defined strategy around how we're approaching those schools.
Is that how the schools were identified? Were those some of the schools that you took them into?
So yes, sorry.
When you did the fish report update, was that
It was.
you identified the 8 schools that they came into?
I did.
And it was off of that?
Yes.
Where we saw declining enrollment in most capacity?
I saw the most capacity, and yes.
Available.
A few things. I did look at the schools of Hope Law and where they could potentially target, and looked at what opportunities there were in those. So those schools lined up with having capacity and landing in areas of economic development areas. Those were the 2 criteria that Scott and I looked at before we identified those schools to go visit. Those are all the KPIs for alignment, Dr.
All right. Thank you guys very much. And board, thank you very much for your input and collaboration with us. Next, I'd like to go ahead and offer the podium to Ms. Dana Schaefer and Dr. Listeni Peñalosa for the value driver of community.
Good afternoon. You're coming. The community focus area of our strategic plan centers on strengthening partnerships, trust, and engagement across our district. Dr. Peñalosa and I are pleased to report that strategies supporting this focus area are on track with strong collaboration and steady implementation across various departments. Overall, we're seeing outstanding progress that reflects our shared commitment to serving students, families, and the broader community. Our first KPI is to increase community feedback by offering input sessions through a variety of forums, including face-to-face and virtual. Instead of monthly, as in the past, Dr. Shanoff will be holding 2 larger roundtables this year. First one was held in October, and we had 60 people representing 28 organizations and businesses. We're in the process now of working individually with each of these groups to establish partnerships in support of our schools. The second roundtable will be held on March 27th. Dr. Shanoff's monthly Students Advisory Council meetings are being held each month in conjunction with Danielle Mafara in our college and career readiness. Dr. Shanoff has held 10 superintendent student success talks in the fall, which were two-way dialogues with employees and parents. We're exploring other alternatives, including ongoing virtual sessions with Dr. Shanoff as we move forward. 4 school ESE advisory committee meetings and ESE school board advisory committee meetings have taken place this school year. 2 remaining meetings for each committee will take place in February and April. The superintendent's faith-based advisory group, they met last week with a follow-up meeting scheduled in 6 weeks to continue the partnership collaboration with our district. And we've continued to obtain virtual thought exchange input with 15 engagements, and that's surveys and exchanges involving over 11,000 participants so far this school year. In addition, this school year, we brought back the School Board State of Education event, which took place in November 5th of 2025. And planning right now is kicking off for Dr. Shanoff and Community Relations and our CTE team to host a Superintendent's Workforce Economic Summit in April. That will be a new event for us this year. Our second KPI in community is to increase the percentage of students enrolling in SDOC schools relative to other educational options. I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Penaloza.
Hello, good afternoon. So I was kind of capturing notes and questions from the board. I know that with finance and budget, there are some questions that you had with PEP scholarship numbers and all of that. So what we've done to track is that the state shares a website where we can log in and we can actually capture the number of scholarships for each of the programs that we have. So that website tracks the PEP, which is a personal education plan, Step Up for Students. That's the families that opt into homeschooling, registering homeschooling through the state, and they are awarded a pot of money that they can then contract with a vendor to be able to secure services. Last January, February, we did sign up to become a vendor through Step Up for Students. So currently for those families, we are serving 6 of those families. 4 of them are face-to-face and 2 of them are virtual school. To try to capture more of those families, on December 12th, we did launch a social media campaign gearing up to semester 2, advertising to our Step Up for Students families. Currently, we haven't had any inquiries, but we're still continuing to push out that information. The scholarship window for that application opens February 1st. So come spring, we'll be able to have a better idea of what those numbers are going to look like for the following year. It's not an open enrollment application. It has a certain open and close date. So once parents miss the deadline, then they can't secure a scholarship for that school year.
Dr. Peñalosa,
Yes.
Quick question regarding the 6 students that we are in partnership with that are personal education plan students. You mentioned a couple of them are virtual and 3 are face-to-face.
4 are face-to-face and
And
2 of them are virtual. So we have a total of 6.
What does that mean? Does that mean that we are providing some
Yes,
classes
so,
in our schools or all?
2 of those families are in St. Cloud High School, and the other 2, I believe, are in Celebration High School. So what they do is that they visit the campus and take a course based on their interest. So all of these are elective courses. One of those, the family in St. Cloud, it's a pair of siblings, so they have an alternate schedule. So mom is really invested in their education, so she's dropping them off, picking them up, bringing them home to continue homeschooling, then bringing them back to get that chunk of instruction that they're wanting to get through the school district of Osceola County. So it can look very different. I mean, it really is a la carte. The parents can choose whichever course they want their student to enroll in.
Any course? Does that include I mean, you mentioned those students are electives.
Electives.
But they can choose, I don't know, I want to take American history at CHS.
Yes, we have an open catalog which is published on our website, and it lists all our schools and any course listings that are available to those students. We've worked with CTE to make sure that if they're interested in a CTE pathway, they're able to take those courses. The only ones that right now are not being offered are the AP courses, and that's because of the implications that we're still working with Dr. Chandra Evans to iron out regarding testing and pass rates and what that brings to the teacher as far as incentives that teachers work towards.
And with regards to the students that are doing virtual, is that through OVS?
Yes, through our virtual school.
Thank you.
Welcome. So as you can see, we're not trending to meet our year 2 goal. We're still battling with the increase in scholarships just across the board. One of our big pushes for choice is a choice fair. So we did have that one in the fall. We had over 5,000 participants for a choice fair. As of this Friday, we have 3,027 applications submitted, 716 which could be potential new FTE to the district. So once we run the lottery and once we communicate to the families and they accept their seats, then we will have a better idea of what is a potential new FTE to the district.
I know Board Member Castillo asked something similar to this on as far as tracking the students who are leaving and coming back. For those that are engaging in family empowerment scholarships, so currently this year 17.6% of students are engaging in that from our students, right? Are we able to, do we know who those families are?
Yes. Actually, now we have a better idea because the state system went down from right before Thanksgiving till about last week. And what they did is that they just published a list with students. On Friday, when we logged back in, we were able to see that there was an additional report available, which actually provides student information with that. The only thing is that we have to be strategic in how we reach out to our families. Social media is out to everyone, so it's not necessarily targeting anyone specifically. It's really just letting them know that we are here and we are the best option.
Yeah, so I was wondering, that's kind of where my question was going, with that 17.6%, if we can identify them by who they actually are, where, their address, things like that, can we send direct mailer to them? Like, so ahead of next year's choice scholarship, taking those people and sending some kind of special invite, come join us at our choice fair and see what our options are, something around that.
Yeah, so in the past, we have done targeted mail outs based on geography. I'll defer to Dr. Clayton. I'm not sure if we can be that direct in marketing.
We can definitely explore any of the options now that we have the exact student information. We are always open to creative ways to reaching out to our families, which as Mr. Sharma spoke about, there he is down there. He spoke about, we are engaged in this conversation quite a bit right now in figuring out with our new choice application, the new lottery system, the new FTE that she's talking about. We will know exactly which families would be new FTE to us. They may be zoned for one of our schools, but they're choosing something else. So what can we do we know we have some on the wait list that have applied to some of our choice options, but because of seat availability, we had to keep them on the wait list this year. So we're looking at all of the creative ways, and in the process, once the choice lottery is run, which we will follow the statutory process for the choice lottery, once that is run, we will be able to take a look at where the students are coming from that get their choice option, and we are looking at those alternative ways to, is it worth adding a portable if that is the right option? Is it worth adding the wing at Voyager, which is the direction of the growth, obviously, but we're thinking in different ways right now for the choice options than we have in the past, just because of what we're faced with.
I also don't know if there's a way, just thinking as you guys are talking, that are we able to see what people in the marketplace, students that are going into the marketplace and picking different things, like, I don't know what, it's almost like, is there a way to show them if they're picking, I don't know, something related to agriculture, then we're making sure that they see at our schools what all the agriculture options are in ways to target them directly and say, come back, you're going to get this much more from us. So I don't know, thinking of those things.
So, and
Almost.
that's what, when we've collaborated with other districts, that has been their goal, to bring them in for one class and to just bring them back all the way. And that really speaks to the connection that he's going to find, the student is going to have with the school that they're attending. So I think in instances like that, when we're really training our school administrators and school staff to provide exemplar customer service, all of that is going to tie in to capturing those students back. Either they left for a reason, we just have to find out what that reason is and assure the families that their children will be in great hands.
I'd like to also clarify what's different with the home education student. Ms. Bronson, I know you were asking about home education specifically. We have traditional home education that they don't make applications to the FES scholarship. But we have this new opportunity that some home education families are applying, which is why that number is probably really low, of only 6 students who are taking that opportunity, because our registered home education students have always been able to come to our schools and take that elective course, and we've always honored that, but we would just earn the FTE for that period of time, where now they would take the money that they get from the scholarship and it goes to the district instead of us earning the FTE while they're sitting in the class.
So you're saying we could still have other homeschool students that aren't doing family empowerment coming in. So
We
are.
do.
Okay.
We do, yes.
Interesting.
Can you clarify what exactly that means in terms of when in time the district is receiving the funds? So to clarify what I understood with our, I'm going to call them traditional homeschool students, but the ones that have always existed, they've always been able to take a course. We've known this. The FTE comes to the district.
Yep.
When, at what period, what snapshot in time does that happen?
So they would count during our normal FTE survey period. If they're enrolled in our school and they're taking the course and they are in attendance during that FTE week, then they would be counted in our FTE count. And so then we
For
would,
that specific class.
that class and that kid.
And that kid. Whereas with our personal education plan students, you're saying that those funds comes directly to the district. Is that because we're vendors now?
Yes.
Understood.
We're considered a vendor for those students, and we're considered a school for the traditional home education students.
Got it. So we're basically just taking the state out of the equation.
Yes.
Understood.
And it really is a creative option that we said yes to, that we didn't always say yes to. That is brand new to us, to say yes to we will become a vendor. When it was first an option, we were like, ooh, we're not sure about this. Let's figure this out first. But then we decided, what can it hurt? Let's figure out how it could benefit us. So we do currently have 6 students.
This isn't a question that I think needs to be answered now, especially knowing that we still have so many amazing people that still want to talk. But I am curious to know, what difference does it make in our budget, the 2 different models? You don't have to answer that now. I'm just curious to know what the difference is to the bottom line.
And we can work on getting that response for you. Do you have any other questions?
I do.
Oh, okay.
I would like to see us just actively supporting and letting the homeschool families know that we're an option. I've been going to a lot of early VPK program type things, and those parents are planning on homeschooling, and when I ask why, they say, oh, it's not safe, or they don't know what our options are and what we're offering. And sometimes just me telling them I was homeschooled and now I'm on the school board and this is what we're offering, or if they even have older students that they're homeschooling, and I say, hey, are you aware you got a high schooler, they love chemistry, you could come to our schools and get that chemistry class. I just feel like there's a lot of misinformation, or they just don't know that it's an option. And I would just like to see something like that where we're really targeting those homeschools. Not that we're trying to push them into our schools, but we're just saying, hey, just so you know, this is available and you're always welcome. And maybe even have like a homeschool day where we say, you know what, you got a high schooler, come to our school, walk our campus. We're going to show you this is what the options are, and you're always welcome here instead of feeling pushed out.
Vice Chair Bronson made me think of something too, actually, around that then. So I was at Celebration K-8 last week for their career day, had been invited out to speak, and I shared what a school board member does. So that was fun, and the kids were very engaged. I was told afterwards that the teacher said they had 20 more questions after I left. So, however, ahead of that, it was the student government group that was putting this on with their teacher. And so there was quite a few kids from student government, 6th through 8th grade, that were in the Great Hall ahead of the event. And when I was talking to some of them and asking them if they were 8th graders, I said, okay, so what are your plans for next year? There were quite a few that said they were going to homeschool for high school. So are we doing any kind of survey at the end of each, like, push up? So like end of 5th grade into 6th grade, end of 8th grade into high school, to see what are your plans for next year? What are you, so if there are families that are out there thinking about changing from traditional to homeschool for some reason, how can we have that conversation with them, find out why that's happening and what we can do? I was surprised that there was a number of students at Celebration that said that's what their plan was for the next year. Thank you.
I have one more. I just want to say congratulations on a wonderful choice fair.
Oh,
The
thank you.
turnout was lovely. I sat in the audience watching mostly the performances because they were so good, but the parents were just so engaged and just so excited for their kid to come up next. And that's really what we need, where they're just excited to see their kid perform or whatever they're doing at the choice fair. Loved that. And for how much feedback the parents are also getting. I've been told they're getting so much they don't have time to read it all, but they're getting it.
They're getting it.
Hallelujah. Okay.
Thank you.
Segue.
All right, our third KPI is to increase the number of and participation in parent academies. Our student services team is teaming with schools when they have parent nights now to increase in-person attendance at trainings. And we listened to the board said virtual. And so now the department is partnering with community relations to post on-demand parent trainings on YouTube and social media, with parent squares letting parents know how to easily find them. So far this school year, we've had a emotional intelligence presentation at Bell Lago Fall Festival with 18 in-person participants and 1,865 YouTube views. Bullying prevention presentation at Flora Ridge Elementary's Multicultural Night, for example, and they had 94 in-person participants. We've posted with Student Services a bullying prevention video, and last time I checked, it had 967 YouTube on-demand views. And last week we posted a substance misuse video, and we're waiting to pull numbers on that, but we are definitely seeing an increase in parents accessing trainings. So we're very pleased with that. And our fourth KPI is increasing our messaging reach via social media platforms and utilizing new platforms as appropriate. So I'm pleased to say we've got increase already in all the social media. Facebook, we're up 3.13% increase from last school year. Instagram, right now, we're at 9.68% increase from last school year. LinkedIn, we're at 7.26% increase from last school year. And YouTube, we're at 4.88% increase from last school year. So we're continuing to drive those numbers and followers up. And certainly Parent Square, that started on July 1st, and that's our new communications platform. We've reached 98% contactability for our parents, and that's kind of where we remain. That certainly changes on a daily basis, and our schools are working to get us close to 100% as possible, because that is pulling information from focus. To date, we have 82% of parents who are interacting with Parent Square. 84% of parents have opted to receive emails. 95% of parents have opted to receive text messages. 42% of parents have downloaded the Parent Square app, and that's messaging going out regularly, inviting we do have messaging that's going out regularly, inviting parents to download the Parent Square app. That really is so they can set their communication preference. All families are getting the communication, but if you download the app, you can personalize it to what your family is looking for. And since the school year started, we have sent over 48,000 posts. We've sent 1.3 million direct messages. We've made 960 posts that have been shared out on social, and we've sent 1,200 smart alerts out to our families, and those numbers are growing daily. Does anybody have any questions?
Just clarification on the 98% contactability rate. Is that the percentage of parents that we are able to have two-way communication with? What exactly does that mean?
So that means if we're going to make a phone call, we don't have any communication method to reach them, whether that be phone, email. Certainly we need a phone number for text. The schools can go in there and look and pull up exact students who we don't have contact information for, and they're going through and working and contacting those families individually to say, we need a way to contact you. Okay. So we're updating focus pretty much on every day.
So 2% of our families we have no information on. That's what that means.
That's what that means.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have a way for families that can, on social media, put where they've had a positive impact, had something positive happen, and how do they go about that?
We have what's called Share Your Great. That's out there all the time, and that's where parents, students, staff members can let us know of great things happening in the schools, and then that ultimately will trigger lots of different communication ways that we can get that out, whether that is a Share Your Great video, it could be something that we post on social, it could be a shout out to maybe a teacher or a school. So there, we do have that.
Do we get a lot of response with
Yes.
that? Oh, okay.
We get a lot.
Thank you.
Get a lot.
I'm not aware. Okay.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. I'll go ahead and invite Dr. Renee Clayton and Mr. Scott Noble for, not that any of our other value drivers aren't exciting, but achievement does include our core business of student achievement. So maybe it is just a little more. All right, Dr. Clayton.
And we completely appreciate Mr. Noble joining me up here from his perspective as being a previous school principal, but now helping take care of the maintenance of our schools and lunch and transportation and all of those things. So we do appreciate that, but I'm going to self-report that I am going to be the hog of this great news. So I am going to share the update on the achievement, and I'm going to present a new angle to you that you have not heard from us before, because we now have historical data with the FAST assessment from PM1 to PM2 to PM3, and then now year over year, where our research and accountability department has been able to put together some predictive. So that is very exciting news, but I want to bring that to your attention that when we get into that, some of that is predictive analytics. So our mid-year progress point is to align school improvement plans and school vision boards to target specific needs and drive improvement. So we have moved way beyond the very broad, high-level goals and strategies that we are digging down at each individual school by grade level, by content area, student by student, skill by skill. That's the way we will get the movement. And we're able to do that now because we have more visibility than we've ever had before. Some of this is from very intentional strategies that we've put in place that we're actually able to utilize now. So this is part of breaking beyond some of those barriers that we've had in place before that is really helping us see and bring to fruition the outcomes. So our vision board goals for this school year is to reach that A with 797 points, which would put us in the district range to be an A district. The minimum is 65%. So we have reached a little bit higher to make sure that we are stretching ourselves to at least land at our goals. And so you'll see where we've put that in place for utilizing the district grading formula. So this next bullet, it says that our goals and midpoint predictive analytics are based on PM2 year-over-year results. So right now, we are currently on track to have an overall district total points of 779 points, which would put us in a 65% A with our current ELA and math outcomes and the assumption. I want to be very clear that this is an assumption that we are meeting our goals also for science, social studies, and middle school acceleration, and that we continue to press forward and continue to do the work that has already been in place for the first semester, continuing through the second semester. We can't stop because we feel like we've met that measure. We have to continue the same work and then get a little bit deeper into the student by student, skill by skill work. So the predictive analytics, I will bring your attention to the supplemental document. And in this gray box, those are all of the sections that are within our district goal, with our district grade. This district grade does include charter school outcomes. So the state rates us as a district grade utilizing the outcomes of our charter schools, which is why it's so important for us to have a very good relationship and good support systems and oversight and partnership with our charter schools, because for us to get better as a district, we also have to get better in our charter schools. We can't just allow them to do just their own things. We have to be a good sponsor. So with that in mind, the first row that says Osceola 25, those were our outcomes for this past year to be a 62% B. And I will remind you, a 62% used to be an A, but the district increased the criteria for what it took to be an A for the district-wide goal. So we did meet the 62, but it is now considered a B. Very, very close. Our goals for this current school year, you will see, is the second line across, which would put us at the 797 points, which would equate to a 66% A. And the third line is what I want to call your attention to as the new predictive analytics that we have not had before. So our REA department has taken our prior year scores and applied their sophisticated formula utilizing our students and what the outcomes would be if we continued with the scores that they have with an 80% reliability of this would be our predictive outcome based on our PM2 results for our students as compared to how we performed last year. So they took last year's performance, created a formula, and applied it to this year's performance so far. And so the predictive analytics at PM2 tells us if we continue on the trajectory and they continue to perform in the same way, then this would be our outcomes for each one of the buckets. So they are color-coded. The light yellow are areas that our prediction would be that we are outperforming where we were last year, but we haven't quite met what our goals are. So in the first one, for example, grade 3 English language arts achievement, our goal is 58%. Right now, our predictive analytics are saying that we would land as a 56% achievement rate at the end of the year, PM3, if everything continues as is, and our outcome would be a 56%. So these predictive analytics have then also been applied to the school level, and you will see in some, as I go through this, how we are applying this all the way down to our student-by-student interventions. Okay, so the 56 under English language arts, learning gains of the lowest 25, that's a bright yellow because we are meeting. We have not outperformed there. and then all the way down to the graduation rate, that is a bright yellow. That should be a green because we've outperformed and we have met what our goal is for this school year. And I would like to bring some very, very exciting attention to the 72% in a college and career acceleration bucket. We just got this information this past week. This is our college and career readiness credits. So this would be industry certifications, AP, IB, DE outcomes that we are right now at a 72%. I will remind you the graduation rate and the college and career rate are both lag year data, but it's based on the cleanup of Survey 5 and the data coming in. So we know that we are at least a minimum of 72% on that acceleration rate, which is could only go higher if we have students that at the end of the year have data that followed them that we weren't fully aware of, which does happen. You'll see in a minute in our graduation rate, we had ourselves at a 91% and it came out as a 91.1. We will celebrate that because every 0.1 is more kids that are crossing the stage, to be honest. So we're very excited. So to recap that, those 3 blanks, we don't have data on yet because we're in the middle of doing our mid-year assessments for science, social studies, and we are just tracking that middle school acceleration. Middle school acceleration is students who are in the high school credit classes, and the way the state has the formula of if they scored at least a minimum of a 3 on their 7th grade math, then they are counted in the denominator no matter what. So we're tracking those boxes very tightly, student by student at each individual school. And the overall 779 points to be a 65% A would be if we meet our goals. So that 58, 74, and 82 are really important for us to keep striving and working very intentionally to meet those goals.
So you're saying,
yes.
You're saying the 67 that's listed there as predicted under the college and career acceleration, that's actually a 72?
So if you look at the third row, the second row were our goals. And the third row is what our predicted.
I maybe have an outdated one. And mine's a 67 still. Oh yeah, okay. Mine's outdated. I don't know why. It's okay. I can look at the one on the
we
screen.
just got that last week, so we did an updated one
Okay, mine's
and
outdated.
reprinted. So.
Mine was in my binder, so that might be why.
Okay, yes. Last week it was 67, and at the end of the week it became 72. So I wanted to spend a minute to really celebrate that accomplishment because 5 percentage points is
amazing,
significant.
Yeah.
Yes, and we will, in the wise words of Dr. Evans, we'll celebrate, but now we're going to roll on because we're working towards an 80% for this year, which would be lag data, and it will post next school year. So, all right, so I'm going to go into the next chart. I won't spend as much time, but I wanted to give you that very high level understanding because the next things that I'm showing you are how we are able to get down to school by school, grade level by grade level, teacher by teacher, student by student, skill by skill, because that's where you start to make the movement. You can't live in the generalities or the averages. You really have to live inside the 4 walls of each classroom and meet the individual student's needs. So the bright yellow chart is PM1 to PM1 and PM2 to PM2 year over year comparison for ELA and math. And what I'd like to call attention to is the orange row for each grade level is the state performance, and the yellow row for each grade level is the district performance. Okay. And you'll see in many cases, in most cases, our average, our percent of achievement is below the state. But if you look at how we have performed over the year PM1 to PM1, you will see that we are outpacing the achievement progress, which is how we're going to close the gap. That's how we're going to catch up. we may be below the state average proficiency, but not for long. I tell you, we have to make incremental gains, and we can't stay even with the state's incremental gains. We have to outpace the state, which is what we are intentionally focused on. So you will see in almost every single area, we are outpacing the PM1 to PM1 and the PM2 to PM2 in both ELA and math. And where you see the -1 and -1, that's on the state, that's not on us in math. So grade 6 math and grade 7, we were even, and then we were 3 percentage points better. We know we are able to pinpoint very specifically content area and grade level so we're going down the funnel. I showed you the district-wide. Now we're getting into the content area by grade level, and then we will continue to go down the funnel to get closer and closer to the individual students. So if you turn the page, the second page is the Power BI accountability dashboard, and where I would, actually the next one, I will point to one of our KPIs. So the Power BI accountability dashboard, you've heard us talk a lot about dashboards. How are we going to get the visibility into the schools, into the students outside of just using Focus? So this Power BI accountability dashboard has been built in conjunction, working together with our IT team and our REA team, and then getting training for principals and rolling this out from a leadership all the way down to the classroom, eventually to the classroom level. You'll see where that is with another data wall. But the column on the left-hand side is the list of all of the different options for the different screen and the different types of reporting. The screenshot that I have here for you is the attendance and grades, but we can narrow down the funnel using any of those things that are on the left-hand column there to look at the grade book by subgroups. We can look at the PM1 to PM3. We can look at PM1 to PM1. We can look at the STAR data. We can look at the predicted calculations for their learning gains, specifically using just this Power BI dashboard to drill into exactly which kids are counting towards those predictive analytics and counting in each one of those buckets. And even if they're not counting in one of those buckets, we are still intentionally working with them to make sure, because we have an overall duty to make sure that kids learn how to read, write, and do math, right? So we are very excited about the possibilities of this Power BI dashboard. We just had our superintendent principal meeting last Tuesday, and all of the principals were in a session with the REA breakout session to really dig into utilizing this to identify each one of the students that count in each one of their buckets, to make their mid-year adjustments, which we've always done mid-year adjustments, but it's taken so much labor and time to figure out that pinpointing the students to now we can have it at our fingertips with just a few clicks. So they spent some time last week. They're having their mid-year data meetings with their assistant superintendents, and how can we support the effort to move forward. So we're really excited about that. The next one is the graduation dashboard, which is also a Power BI dashboard, which I will call your attention to the KPI for graduation rate. I will go back to the vacancy one in just a minute, but the third KPI is to increase the graduation rate in district-operated schools, and the year 2 goal is 93%. So I want to bring to your attention the difference between this graduation rate and the one that's in our overall district grade. The one in the district grade includes all schools within our district, including charter schools and alternative schools. The 93% goal is for our district operated schools. And on page 3 at the top of the page, you'll see a chart that delineates the difference between the district non-charter, charter, and then our non-charter and non-at-risk dropout prevention scores. And so the reason I jumped to that from this Power BI dashboard on page 2 is so that you can see that's the final outcome of what we've been using now for a year to track student by student. They were doing this hand by hand at each one of the schools. And Ms. Tia Brown and Dr. Evans were working with the high school principals on a monthly basis at first, but then down to a weekly basis, tracking the individual students and where they were in the process. Well, now they don't have to rely on that individual updating because it is automatically updating through Focus in this Power BI dashboard, where they can click a couple of buttons and get their graduation rate as it stands in real time. So for example, this one is as it stands in real time when this was pulled over a week ago, 2 weeks ago, for whatever cohort is being pulled. And then you can drill down to the individual students and see exactly what the individual students have and what is left that they need to work on to meet their graduation rate. And then the predicted acceleration, I have to tell you that this is a little bit of secret sauce in here because we started tracking this earlier and being even more intentional with the acceleration rate. And right now across the whole district, we have sophomores with a higher acceleration rate than juniors because we started from the day that they stepped in the door in 9th grade. And so we have so many that already have that point under their belt that we're still working with sophomore or juniors and seniors to get that acceleration rate up higher.
I do have a question. I know that we keep going back and forth in the presentation or in the document, so I don't know specifically where you are right now. But it sounds like you did talk about the graduation rates for the past 3 years, and I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly.
Okay.
District 91.1%. That's just district-run schools, or does that include charters?
That
includes
our,
charters.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody is the
Got
first
it.
line.
Okay, I know. I just
91.1. We broke 90%.
Okay,
It's exciting.
when you the last line that says non-charter, no non-at-risk dropout prevention, and we go over and we say 96.4%. Can you tell me what that is?
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Yeah.
That is all of our high schools except for our alternative programs, which are New Beginnings and Zenith.
Yeah.
Exciting. And every comprehensive high school, every high school has a graduation rate of 93% or higher. And even our overall district graduation rate is the highest it's ever been. So there is a lot to celebrate in this room from the whole team.
That's right.
It is it's a pre VPK through 12 effort, but it's also, I love the placement of achievement in this strategic plan because it is not the first value driver that we're working on. It's because we can't do achievement without the cross functionality of all of the other departments, knowing that achievement is the core business. Achievement becomes the byproduct when all of the systems are working together. And that's what the power and the difference in this approach has been. We weren't sure what we were getting ourselves into in the beginning, right? We had a lot of questions, but we can see that the cross functionality, which is, I apologize to Mr. Noble here. I told him I was going to be a hog here.
Support. He's supporting.
But this is what happens when we are absolutely consistent across all of the systems in the organization, that it's not just achievement is the hog of the attention. We don't all do everything just for achievement. Achievement is the outcome for everything that we do together. All right.
Love that.
Yes. Okay. So I will continue to show you the funnel and emphasize how we get down to the individual student. This next chart is we have EduClimber within our Renaissance platform, which takes data straight out of our School City platform and Focus and funnels all of the information in. This is a very high level screenshot, but this is an example of it. It continues to go all the way down to the individual classroom, to the individual student. This one is a very high level. You don't need to make a whole lot of sense of it other than I'm going to give you a high level overview. So EduClimber, we decided that it is a portion of the suite that we use in the Renaissance platform. So they have multiple parts of the Renaissance platform. We have STAR, we have School City. EduClimber is our MTSS tracking tool, which allows us to actually track for tier 1 instruction. It doesn't, you cannot intervene your way out of the core tier 1 instruction. So we need to see where our students are performing from a tier 1 standpoint to be able to properly support students from a tier 2 and a tier 3 standpoint. So this is a very high level report. So just to bring your attention, on the far left column, you'll see that a teacher or a school could look at this screen and see that all of those students were level 4 at the end of last year on PM3. The next columns are showing how did they perform across the, this is for math in particular, how did they perform across each of the domains within math. And then you'll see the next color column, and that's PM1 for the beginning of the year. And you will see a level 4 student that is in green did a really great job with end of the year content. Lots of students that are level 4 students score in the red because it's end of the year content. It's not too much of a red flag until you get further into the next columns of colors. You will see the next column is PM2. So you will see the first student there that you can see the colors that go all the way across. It's blue, green, blue, 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 green. That's the color trend we would want to see for a prior year level 3 student or level 4 student to have a trajectory of continuing to improve over time. Whereas you can see a student that was a level 4 at PM3 last year on PM1 was a 1, probably didn't apply themselves too much, but then is continuing on PM2 was a level 2, but now is continuing to improve. Those are unit assessments. They're on track, learning the content that we would want them to see over time, learning that content. But you can also see the trend where there was a level 4 that scored a level 1, then another level 1 and is not doing well and is not doing well on their unit assessments. Those are red flags that we can now, by trends at the glance of an eye, instead of digging and digging and digging, very intentionally meet the needs of the student through targeted interventions and support.
Dr. Clayton, thank you so much. I'm wondering, first of all, I don't know if you saw my eyes tearing up with just looking at data. This is what I've been wanting for 7 years.
I know.
Like, really, I know. This is beautiful. You can really read this, and I know that the team that's present here understands what's going on here. But a lot of the a lot of the interventions are at the teacher level.
Yep.
Could you tell me how we are training our staff, our teachers, to understand this data and implement those interventions? Is there something going on at the professional development level that is different? Because I can tell, right? Everybody's speaking data. What have we changed in that professional development piece?
So there are many layers to that. That's a great question, and it doesn't come overnight, and it doesn't come after one professional learning session. It just can't. It's from consistent monitoring, PLCs at the school level, consistent MTSS meetings and consistency from the leadership down, and holding this as important information to say, we're looking at this data, what is it telling us, what are the interventions that are needed, how can we support you in learning the platform. There are many schools that they don't have the time to fully teach them how to use the platform.
Right.
If it's a whole set of new teachers. So we have coaches, they utilize this information in every single monthly coach meeting. We have our charge up sessions, which are the professional learning for the upcoming content. And each one of those charge up sessions starts with the data. Where are we? Where do we need to go? What adjustments need to be made? And so the coaches get that, plus a teacher from each school for each grade level, for each content area. And then they're asked to take that back to the school as that lead person. And then many schools have Title I funds, and they schedule a part-time or a half-day planning session, and they go through the same content with their team of teachers so that all the teachers know how to access this information and utilize it for planning and delivery of the instruction. We have our MTSS team, Mr. Balone, who has gone to individual schools to teach them how to use the EduClimber platform. He has met with PLCs. We have it in so many layers that we are trying to individualize to the individual school's needs rather than a blanket, here's what everybody needs.
Okay, thank you.
I have a comment. I just want to say, I remember when MTSS was a mess, and we were graphing on paper and trying to get those things turned in, and then
sticky notes.
oh my gosh, and kids were moving throughout the district and leaving the state and coming back, and then you just couldn't keep track of anything. And I think EduClimber has been a real game changer for us because it just holds all the documentation. And if you're late on even turning something in, it flags that this child's data needs to be inputted. And I just think it's great.
Thank you. And we've taken it to the next level because of the power behind it. It's a lot to learn in the beginning, but once you get past that initial
Overwhelmed.
and you start putting in the goals for the individual students with disabilities, we've taken it to that level. Our students with disabilities goals are input into EduClimber to track their progress specific to their IEP goals. Specific to behavior and academics. Any student that's in Tier 2, any student that's in Tier 3, those goals are also being tracked within EduClimber. So it is helping us get to that student by student, skill by skill level of progress, and what do we do to respond to their needs.
Well, just like any meeting you go to that you can just pull up your laptop and everyone can just share the documentation. Oh, hallelujah.
Yep. And it keeps getting easier and easier, where before we had to build the data wall and everybody had to build their own data wall within the platform. Now it's the school builds the data wall and shares it, and then everybody at the school gets what is rostered to them. They don't see everybody's data. They see what's rostered to them. So it just keeps improving and getting better and better as we use it more and more. Yeah. Okay, so I'll take you back, before I go to the last bullet items, I will take you back to the KPIs so that I don't miss anything that's extremely important here. The second KPI is to decrease the percentage of teacher vacancies. So we know that we need high quality people in front of students to deliver high quality instruction. And our goal here for year 2 was to have no more than 2% of instructional vacancies. And right now we are at 1.9%, the same as what we were at the beginning of the year. We did see a little bit of an uptick, which is this 1.9% for the semester break. Natural attrition has happened. We have people who have moved, and we also had some additional allocations. So as of the day that was pulled, we had 83 vacancies, and currently we have 76 vacancies. So they're already going down. So I would say that that 1.9% is trending even lower than that right now. Then the next one, I already talked about the graduation rate KPI. So to distinguish between all schools within the district versus district managed. So that's what that 93% is the district operated schools. And then the next KPI is to increase the number of students experiencing college and career activities from pre-K through 12. That's our Zello platform where they're engaged in the lessons for college and career exploration. And I am really pleased with this number. Our goal is 89% by the end of the school year. And right now, by semester break, we already had 75% of our K-12 students. I really expected that to sit somewhere around 50% because we were halfway through the school year. But the good news is we are going to have more than at least one activity because we already have 75% with at least one activity. The next KPI is to increase the number of seniors graduating with a confirmed SDOC 4E plan. I will remind you the 4 E's are enroll, enlist, employ, or explore. And the explore is not, I'm just sitting on your mama's couch. We know who says that. It is, they're doing some kind of official business. They're on a mission or they're doing some kind of official exploration opportunity. And so our year 2 goal is 93%. And already at the midpoint of the school year, we have 47% of our seniors already have a confirmed plan. They have already committed to one of these things. So that's really exciting. I thought that was a little high for midpoint also. We will get into, we're on a monthly tracking, but we are getting ready to move into the season of tracking on a almost weekly basis, all of these graduation things. The next KPI is to increase the proficiency of first-time test takers for ELA grade 10 and Algebra 1 end of course exam. First-time test takers is a really important metric because those are those requirements for increasing the graduation rate. So we don't know what that first-time test taker rate will be until we get to PM3. And then I'm sorry to have you jump around, but I will take you back to the supplemental document one last time to wrap up some of the strategies that we have in place for some of these items just because they were important in the process. And so we've talked a little bit about our assessments and the assessment trends. We are delivering content that is very specifically targeted and aligned. We are now using the fast released tests for embedded instruction because we're not teaching to a test, but we have to expose them to the question types because there are part A, part B, multi-select. They have to know how to answer those, so we want to make sure they know exactly what it looks like. The school, city, district unit assessments have mirrored test types now, so we know exactly what they look like online digitally. They're taking them for any of our unit assessments. The questions are built that way now. Progress learning, which you approved earlier in the fall before the winter break. So we have launched our implementation of the Progress Learning platform, and we are utilizing it very intentionally and specifically for state question types for ELA, math, 5th and 8th grade science, and civics EOC. And let me tell you about the engagement in our elementary schools specifically. They are so excited. This is very different than any other kind of computer adaptive program that we've ever had before, where it in the past has been, go make sure you get on the computer, go do your whatever computer program that you're assigned to do, and make sure you get 30 minutes each day or 15 minutes each day. It is not that approach at all. This is very intentionally designed for mastery by benchmark. So those things that we know that they are weak on is what is being intentionally targeted for each individual student. Mastery by benchmark. If that means they have to do that benchmark 3 times, then they do that benchmark 3 times. It's not they do that benchmark for 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. So it's working towards mastery of understanding, so which makes all the sense in the world, doesn't it? I'm not going to keep trying to learn how to ride a 2-wheel bicycle and not have success and keep just doing it for time to have success if I don't make sure that I know how to pedal the pedals and steer the steering wheel. So it's taking that very intentional benchmark approach. And then we're also utilizing Conmigo, which is our new agreement for with the Lastinger Center for tutoring in mathematics. And then I want to spend just a minute on, we will continue to engage in the continuous improvement process for our ESE department. We are in the middle of reform, and ESE, special education reform, is critical. And we are very excited to engage in the comprehensive school support grant of $1.2 million that is focusing on 17 schools. And we will be engaging in the professional learning, the coaching cycles, and tutoring of students across the 17 schools. That is going to begin the first week of February. And then the professional learning will be available on a monthly basis for the 17 schools, and then also this summer for any of our school teachers to participate in the very specific professional learning. So we are able to build capacity very quickly and saturate that area in a way that we wouldn't without this grant. So we're excited about that. And that's what I have for you today. Any questions? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Scott.
Support. That was vital. I felt it.
I did mention that was going to be a little exciting, right? So thank you, Dr. Clayton, Mr. Noble. All right, next up and finally, value driver of culture, our Chief Human Resource Officer, Dr. Carol Green, and sub-lead, and return to the podium, Mr. Peter Thorne.
I just want to say they saved the shortest for the last. They knew we had so many questions prior.
There could be some. I have an opening statement about our value driver. So, for culture at SDOC, we're committed to cultivating a culture where every student, team member, and family feels valued, supported, and deeply connected to our shared mission. We believe that when individuals are provided the right tools, encouragement, and sense of belonging, they can achieve at the highest levels. By strengthening relationships, elevating the employee experience, and fostering an inclusive environment for students and staff alike, we aim to build a district culture that reflects unity, wellness, and pride in our collective success. Thank you.
So many of our culture activities have been built in throughout the you've heard about them throughout the plan. And so the last three that we have remaining that have not been spoken about yet this evening are the KPI for the percentage of students in co-curricular or extracurricular activities is the first one. And over the last several years, you've received information at the end of each year which show co-curricular and athletic participants throughout our schools. This year, we're adding extracurricular participation of our students. So we did our first ever survey of our teachers that are out there supporting students at all grade levels through extracurricular activities such as debate and student council and quiz bowl and activities such as that are not considered co-curricular, but things that students want to participate in that don't have a class associated with it. So our first survey result showed us that throughout our schools during the fall semester, we had almost 10,000 students participating in extracurricular activities. So there's research out there that shows when you're participating in something in school, you're connected better, you're grounded better, you try harder, your attendance goes up. So with the percentage of the students in the the co-curricular and the athletics, and you add another 10,000, which could be duplicate students, but another group of students that are involved throughout their school, it was a great number for us to start. We didn't get all the results from the students, from the teachers by the time we published this because it's the first time we sent it out, but we are working with the principals to make sure that we get the data. And when we have, so that number may fluctuate when you see it again in the spring, but we're working with the principals to make sure that we have the final numbers in the second semester when we put the survey out again.
And so to be clear, these ones here that are the extracurricular is outside of the athletics, and does it include arts?
Arts is the part of the co-curricular.
Co-curricular.
Yep. Now, there could be students that are both in student council and in drama.
Right.
But
these numbers here don't include athletics
correct.
in them.
That's correct. The KPI for the parent, student, and staff overall satisfaction with the district, all three of those surveys are going to be administered at the end of this month through February, I think 19th, so that we can get feedback. And I know specifically for the staff survey last year, it was a very difficult platform by which to provide feedback. So we have the feedback process already written for the staff survey so that as the results come in, the feedback will be easier to present next year, and we'll have a more comprehensive way to present it to cabinet members, school principals, site supervisors, etc. And of course, you in total will get that. And then the last KPI under culture is the Employee Healthcare Center expansion, which is going to be ready to go, I believe, in October. Questions about any of those? Or any that were discussed prior?
The expansion would be the 2 bus facilities? Oh.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, board, I'll just wrap up by saying thank you so much again for this opportunity and for your engagement. I think it's been tremendous for us, and hopefully it has been for you too. Our next workshop is scheduled for June 23rd as we wrap up the school year. So we'll present to you then, but Dr. Shanoff did want me to convey to you that any time that you want to provide additional input, have questions, whatever it may be, we are always available to you. And like Mr. Sharma indicated, it is a fluid document. So it's designed to change and be malleable to meet current conditions. So anytime you would like, please feel free to contact me and I'll get the right people in the room for you.
Thank you. No additional questions? With that, this workshop is ended. Thank you so much, everyone.
I don't think it's bad. I think he sliced his hand, but I don't think it's bad. All right, we'll go. Are you sure? Yep.